Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another episode of the Yakking Show. This is the Harmony Channel, your path to wholeness. And we help you along that path to wholeness by bringing you interesting guests who are experts in their field to give you advice on all sorts of interesting stuff. But first, let's introduce our co-host, Kathleen Beauvais. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you for that. And thank you also very much for tuning in to our show. We so appreciate having you. And as Peter mentioned, we do have another special guest with us today coming to us from Florida. So we would like to welcome Shana Rosenthal to the show. Hello, Shana. How are you?
Hello, Kathleen. I'm doing great today. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Now, you are an expert in hypnosis, NLP, short for neuro-linguistic programming, stress management, EFT, and coaching. And you create sessions using a combination of these powerful modalities, which release self-sabotage, emotional blocks, and fears that hold people back. And the result is fast, powerful, effective, and permanent. Wow. So let's just jump right in. So
that sounds so impressive.
It is impressive. It really is.
It does.
Can you please explain how hypnosis can help release self-sabotaging emotional blocks?
Yes, I can. So first of all, let's talk about what hypnosis is and what it isn't, because it is so often there's a lot of woo-woo that and chatter around what hypnosis is, and we can thank the movie industry for the very common misconceptions about hypnosis. It is not mind control, right? Well, actually, it kind of is, but it's not me controlling someone else's mind. It's me helping the person that I'm working with take control of their own mind and learning how to do that. So things like self-sabotage and anxiety as a whole can be put back into its place, right? Because, you know, very often things happen to us over the years, you know, whether it's in childhood or, you know, just life in general. And it creates certain patterns of behavior that don't really serve us, and just wanting to change and wanting to not behave this way or not respond in certain ways isn't enough, right? And so people reach out to me to get help and learning how to work their own minds better, how to reprogram these behaviors so that they are now not a problem anymore. Right?
So how does hypnosis actually work? Because I mean, as you said, we have seen it on television how you will become very
sleepy.
Right. So exactly how does it work?
So hypnosis is actually a very natural state of all of our minds. We tend to go in and out of this state of mind multiple times a day. We just don't have a hypnotist standing next to you telling you you're in hypnosis right now. You're in that particular state of mind right now. So to help you understand this better, let me change the word hypnosis for the word focus. Now, think of a time where you are highly focused on something, so focused that maybe you know, your phone was ringing in the background, or somebody was calling your name, or there was a distraction going on, but you were so focused on something that was so important to you that you heard what was going on, but you weren't distracted by it because you wanted to be focused on this one thing. When you were finished doing that thing, you then, you know, ask that person, well, what was it that you wanted? Sorry, I was concentrating on this, right? That focused attention that you decided to do so that you could complete the task, whatever it was, is a state of mind that is very similar to hypnosis. There's another example that I can give you. Right. So Peter, you've done that before, right?
I was just going to say, is this what some people call flow?
Flow state, very similar. Yeah. And athletes will be able to connect with that. They go into a state of mind where nothing else matters apart from the thing that they've practiced over and over again.
Is
And they
it-
go into a heightened state of doing that thing very well.
Is
Yep.
it
Nothing
also
else
like
matters.
meditation?
Similar to meditation, the difference between meditation
Mhm.
and hypnosis is meditation is about concentrating on just being in the here and the now, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same state of mind, but with hypnosis, I like to say that it's more active because we're changing behaviors while we're in that state of mind.
Right.
So we're very focused internally, but we're being guided to change behaviors while we're in this state because we're highly suggestible when we're in this state. We can hypnotize ourselves to change behaviors. And that's part of what I do is I train my clients to be able to perform self-hypnosis so that in the future they're well armed with tools and techniques that they don't need to come back to see me
Mm-hmm.
because they know how to do it for themselves, right? I'll give you another example of where you would have experienced hypnosis for yourself.
Yeah.
Or this state of mind we're calling hypnosis. Do you guys drive?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have you ever driven a car, and maybe a long journey or even a short journey, and all of a sudden you've realized that your mind is elsewhere, but you're still driving? Maybe you've missed an exit, or you've arrived home and you can't remember the last 10 minutes of that drive. That phenomena is called highway hypnosis.
Ah, okay.
That's also a state of mind that is hypnotic because you were concentrating on something that was very important to you, yet still able to do something else at the same time.
Oh,
Okay.
fascinating.
Driving,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's happened to me. I thought where all of a sudden I snap out of it and think, "Ooh,
Oh my, it's
glad."
scary, isn't it? Yeah.
I wasn't asleep. I was actually focused, but then I realized, yeah,
Right. And hypnosis is not it's not sleep. From what the movies tell us, you have to be, completely zonked out and, look like you're at a catatonic state. That isn't actually necessary at all. Neither is relaxation, even though sometimes us hypnotists do like to lead our clients into some kind of relaxed state, just because why not? Because we can, and it's nice. Why not give them a little mental break, right? But it's not necessary. You don't have to be in a relaxed state to access this hypnotic state of mind, but it's just a nice entryway, but it's not necessary at all. My clients, when I kind of guide them in, it's very much a personal journey. So each session is different, and I kind of guide them into different, depending on what it is that we're dealing with. I guide them into showing them how they can change their behavior in different ways, so they're not reliant on just one way in case it doesn't work for them particularly well. Everybody's different, so I treat everybody individually, and work through the different modalities and kind of cherry pick what I think would work best for them, and we have fun as well.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've experienced exactly what you're talking about. I used to run marathons. There's a picture behind me somewhere running an ultra marathon. And on several occasions, I would be running and feeling like I was floating in the clouds because it was such a euphoric feeling, that runner's high that you get. And I've had it on the back of a horse as well, and definitely driving on the highway. Can anyone be hypnotized? And can you actually get people to do things they would not normally do in their awakened state? There's two questions there. Sorry.
There are two questions. So I'm going to answer the first question and then remind me if I get sidetracked to come back to the second part. Can anybody be hypnotized? So most people can be hypnotized as long as they want to be.
Right.
That's the first thing. You can't make somebody do something they don't want to do. So, the person has got to be highly motivated, one, to want to elicit the change to begin with, and it be for them, not for a loved one or for anybody else. It has to, the want and the desire to change has got to be for them, and if it isn't, then there's going to be resistance. So I always speak to my potential clients first, almost like a pre-talk before I even will accept them as a client, to make sure that the motivation is where it needs to be. Otherwise, my reputation is really important to me. I want to make sure that I'm working with people who really want to change. Otherwise, if it doesn't work, that's on my shoulders, right? So that's important. There are a very small percentage of people that hypnosis isn't a good fit for. And typically they're people who have had some kind of brain injury that it wouldn't be advisable for. Now, that doesn't mean I can't help them. I just wouldn't necessarily use hypnosis.
Okay.
And there are other types of diagnoses that, again, hypnosis isn't a good fit for. I'm talking, maybe bipolar and certain types of other issues that, I would have to have a referral from a medical doctor anyway. And each individual client, will need different things. So that, I guess, answers your question as far as, is everybody hypnotizable, or is it a good fit for most people? What was this? I knew I was going to forget the second part of that question.
Don't worry. I haven't forgotten. The second part is, can a good hypnotist get people, again, I've watched too many movies about hypnosis and heard too many jokes about stuff, but can a good hypnotist actually hypnotize someone and get them to do something they would not normally do in their awakened state?
So in that scenario, does the person want to do the thing that they wouldn't normally do? If they do, then the answer is yes. And if they don't, the answer is no.
Okay. So I'm going to expand on that one. Go down that track a bit more, because I find it quite fascinating. Let's suppose I use me as an example. I used to smoke and I stopped of my own accord. I did consider, in fact, I did speak to someone who said she was using hypnosis to get me to stop, and it didn't work. But anyway, I stopped smoking. Let's assume I came to you because I wanted to stop smoking.
Right.
But I had, and you were a little bit of a mischievous hypnotist. You want to have some fun with me, or you had a thing against men, or whatever. It doesn't matter. And while you're hypnotizing me and telling me I must stop smoking, I have a secret desire to act like a 2-year-old or something. Could you put that suggestion in once I'm under hypnosis and get me to act like a 2-year-old? This is a bizarre scenario, but I'm interested whether it's possible.
Yeah, so I typically am not a sneaky hypnotist.
No, I know.
So I wouldn't. My mind doesn't go in that direction.
Sure.
So I actually don't know, because I've never tried to be sneaky in that way. And I probably would say, no. I would like to think not.
Okay.
It's rapport is very important when you're helping somebody.
Sure.
And if you give the impression at all that there's going to be some sneakiness going on, even if the thought is in the back of your mind subconsciously, it actually does come across. You don't have to verbalize it. There is going to be a break in rapport. You have to have clear intention, both of you, when you're working, because the subconscious is very, very, you communicate. I think it's like, I can't remember the actual statistic, but it's like a very high percentage of your communication is subconscious. And, when there is an intention there that is unspoken, there is a break in rapport. And, in my mind, that you're not going to get the best result if your goal is to try and sneak something in that, may or may not be spoken about and agreed upon when you're working with a client. Their best intention has always got to be, your main goal.
Sure. No, it's something that's always worried me a little bit. So thank you for clearing that one up.
So I also will say, just, and to add to this as well, to clear this up, and with a nice bow as well, is that you cannot make someone do something that they don't want to do ever.
Okay.
You can never extract information that is out of the realms of what the goal of the session is. If a hypnotist does or says something when you're in hypnosis that doesn't align with your beliefs and your values, you will immediately be taken out of the state of hypnosis. And you have something called the critical faculty, which, if you imagine, is like the guard gate to your subconscious mind. It's there on high alert, making sure that everything that's going on is what you're expecting. And if there's something going on that doesn't feel right, whether it's, being said or being intended, the state will be broken.
Okay.
So that's why, you can't control somebody's mind at all. It's just, it cannot happen.
What are
Good.
the most common fears and phobias that people come to you?
So one of the biggest fears or phobia is fear of public speaking. It's a huge one. It's a huge one. Yeah, yeah.
And so when someone comes to you for help and you have all of these modalities that you can use, how do you choose which one to use?
So it's I have fun, right? And I make sure my client is having fun as well, that they're coming to me with a problem. They've already suffered enough. They don't need to suffer anymore. So if I can make the session as enjoyable as possible, with the end result being what they're looking for, right? And the fear, all of a sudden it was a 10, and now, it's gone down to a 0, 1, or 2. To me, that's a great result, right? And if we can have fun in the process, then wonderful. And I treat everybody so differently, so it really does depend on their personality, what they present, how they communicate, what I feel they'll be comfortable with. And luckily, because there are so many different tools and techniques that you can play, and I always say this, we're going to play, right, to take the pressure off. We're going to play around with a few things, and I can tell instantly if they are enjoying it, if they're getting what they need from it, and if not, we just kind of pivot accordingly, and I either add something in or take something out, or redirect to something else, and help them move through what they need to get the best result possible.
Right.
And very often I very rarely suggest one session.
Oh, right.
Okay, because I don't know this person. I don't know how they're going to respond. And so if they have an issue, I want to give the issue respect. And I don't want to, say to them, look, you've been dealing with this problem for 10, 15, 20 plus years. Who am I to say I can get rid of it completely in, an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours?
Right.
Right. And now, that being said, it does happen, but I'm not going to guarantee that happens. So I always suggest, maybe 3 or depending plus sessions to begin with, see how the person responds. And we may be done, and it may be wonderful, but they may need a couple of more reinforcements or, attunements. And that's fine too.
Okay.
Interesting. So tell our audience about mindset, mindset programming, and you developed a mindset upgrade program.
Yeah, I have. So that's basically a period of time that I suggest that I work with people would be over an 8-week period of time. And we will have up to 5 sessions in that 8-week period. Now, this is for people who are really struggling with anxiety at a deeper level. They're having panic attacks, or they're having really deep issues with insomnia, or, fears, phobias. They need more. They need more support than just a couple of sessions here and there. So we work together via Zoom. All my sessions are online these days. It didn't used to be, but these days they are. And we will have our one-to-one sessions where we really deep dive into the issue. And as I've described, you kind of get the gist of what a session would look like. And then in between those individual sessions, the private sessions that we do, I then give them access to a pre-recorded 8-week program. They have their own online portal with a password where they access videos and hypnosis sessions that are pre-recorded, but they're there to empower them to learn more tools than I can get to in, in the time that we have. And also keep them on track. Once you start working with the subconscious mind, it kind of opens up and is very suggestible. So for the period of time that it takes to really change permanently, they're kept on track every single day with these pre-recorded sessions. So I know that whatever else is going on in their life, that the subconscious is being kept on track. And that I've called my mindset upgrade program, because that's how I see it.
Interesting. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Kathleen.
What is the link between physical pain and emotional issues?
Well, from my perspective, the body and the mind are absolutely intrinsically linked, right? And if there is pain that there is no medical answer for, right? In my mind, the mind has got to be responsible for it. Okay. So even things like fibromyalgia, for example,
right?
It's difficult to treat. You go to a doctor, and you're not going to get very far, and you're told that you're just going to have to deal with it, right? In my world, I believe that trauma and life gets caught up in the body, and unresolved issues are very often manifested as physical pain. And it's not just fibromyalgia, it's many other symptoms that we experience that can manifest in different ways in the body. And by helping that person to release the trauma without them really having to talk about it, because I don't want to re-traumatize these people, they can resolve, or at least reduce dramatically, the amount of pain that they're in. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's interesting. So, Shana, in your experience, I assume you were practicing in the UK before you came to America, so you've had experiences both sides of the Atlantic, and from perhaps your reading and different patients you've seen, is there a difference between different cultures in how they react and how they hang on to self-sabotaging beliefs and emotional blocks, or is it a fairly common issue across all cultures?
From what I've seen, it's pretty common.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty common. It's more about the types of people. So the majority of people that I help tend to be, entrepreneurs, or people who are high level kind of execs, very high stressful jobs, and they just have never learned to manage their stress or their anxiety. And they have, I don't know if you've heard, imposter syndrome bouncing around. So the imposter syndrome is a big deal. They think that they're faking it, and they really, their self-esteem is very, very low, and they just don't know what to do, and they're racked with anxiety around that. Self-sabotage is almost like just getting in their own way, too much in their own minds, and not enough in their actions and their life, right? And that is just so damaging to self-esteem. And really learning how to overcome that is life-changing in so many ways. Very often, after seeing a client, for just maybe 2 or 3 sessions, people in their lives start noticing a difference without them even having to tell them that. So very often people don't like to talk about the fact they're getting help.
Right.
Especially seeing a hypnotist, right? Because it's weird. I know it's weird. Okay.
So,
but and they'll the change in them, they'll feel the change themselves, but the change will be noticeable by their loved ones.
right.
And that is the biggest for me. It's one of the the biggest compliments.
Right.
When they tell me. So yeah.
So, Kathleen, sorry, can I just jump in with a quick? We got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So, Shana, a couple of weeks ago, we had a guy called Douglas Mulhall on, and he was speaking about epigenetics, and he was talking about how trauma can be passed on from one generation to the next, even though the subsequent generations haven't experienced that trauma themselves. So, where am I going with this one? And that was one observation. The second observation I would make is that some people seem to handle stress and trauma, high levels of it, of both, much better than others. And it is, does that come back to parenting? Is it genetics? Is it epigenetics? What's your opinion on that? Why should there be such huge differences?
I think it's a combination plus personality.
Okay.
I think highly sensitive people are very affected by others
Okay.
and can carry little traumas. We call there's big trauma and little traumas, can carry these traumas just by being in a situation, not even having something done to them, just being exposed to a difficult family life, for example, or parents that fight a lot, and it can really affect them dramatically, or even feeling like they haven't had they've had attention but not the right attention.
Okay.
It's so different for everybody, and everybody is so unique, and their experiences are so unique as well. And you can have 100 people go through life exactly the same, yet they'll respond differently and have different issues just because of their personality and their genetic makeup. So it's difficult to pinpoint really what it is, but I think, why worry about it? You've got a person who needs help. Let's help that person.
Oh yeah, sure.
But
Agree.
I appreciate the question. It's just, I believe there's so many different combinations of things that, attribute to the reason why.
Sure. No, I asked the question because I'm hoping that experts like you can find some lessons in there from the people who handle it well that would benefit the people who struggle. That was the background to the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kathleen, as always, I'm talking too much, so back to you.
Not at all. So I noticed on your website that you also help people with weight management issues. How does that work?
So I believe that weight management issues are, if you have somebody with a problem with weight, it's the relationship with food, not the food they're eating, and it's the relationship with themselves, and comes down to self-love, really.
Right.
And so I kind of come sort of helping people with their weight management, or weight management issues, or weight issues, or whatever it is you want to call it, from that perspective, rather than looking at what it is that they're putting in their mouths. Everybody knows what they should be eating, and the calorific deficit and working out. And yes, I support a healthy lifestyle, but for me it's more about their relationship with food. And why it's self-sabotage, isn't it? Because they know what, and possibly they're eating to fulfill a self-soothing problem that and so it's more for me about that, and that's how I sort of help them with that. And it's another program that I run. I work with people for about 6 weeks or so.
And is that through hypnosis,
really
or is that NLP?
Again, it's another combination of pretty much everything.
Right.
Yeah. And with that program, I don't leave any stone unturned. It really is quite a deep journey, pretty transformational. And people learn a lot about themselves and a lot about self-soothing and self-love without being woo-woo. I mean, you probably can tell I'm not one of these kind of, I'm very systematic, and there's reasons behind everything that I do. And it works, and it's wonderful. And again, I don't like to drag up the trauma or the go looking for the events that cause them to behave a certain way. That's not necessary. For me, it's all about, okay, this is where we're at. How can I get you from where you are to where you want to be as quickly as possible? So yeah.
Very good. So here's one for you. It's going slightly in a different direction, but we ask all our expert guests this question. A lot of people at the moment are feeling fairly negative about the future between inflation and coming out of lockdown, violence in the Middle East, Ukraine, the whole deal, encampments on campuses and this, that thing. Don't worry, Kathleen and I are not like that. We're pretty positive. But a lot of people are not. So we ask our guests, if you could give one tip to our audience that they can start doing or thinking differently from today to give them a better outlook on life, what would it be?
I think for me, it is to focus more on the things that they want and not on the things that they don't.
Okay.
Excellent.
That's very good.
Now,
I'm trying to be as simplistic as possible. I could talk about that for 10 minutes, but just try and hold that for what it is.
Sure. Oh, good point.
Yeah.
And don't watch too much TV.
Filter.
Filter.
If you can filter what comes at you.
Yes.
At all times.
Now, Shana, do you work with people from all over the world?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
So all my
sorry,
I was going to say, the best way is through my website, which is Shana, Shana, hypnotist.com.
Okay.
All the information is on that website of how people can get in touch. Yeah.
Good. And I've been looking at the website, so it's a really easy one to navigate. Lots of interesting stuff on there. And for our audio listeners, all those details will be in the description on whatever platform you're listening to this on. And while I have got the floor for the last few seconds, we've had another expert guest and a really interesting guest telling us all about hypnosis and how to improve yourself today. So to make sure you don't miss out on future guests, hop onto our website, theyakkingshow.com, hit the purple button on the front page and sign up for our newsletter. We only send you one email a week. We just tell you who's on this week and who's coming next week, and then you won't miss out on these wonderful guests we're getting. Thanks again, Shana, and thanks to our audience, and back to Kathleen.
It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we want to thank you all for tuning into our show once again. And if anyone is interested in being a guest on our show, all you need to do is visit us at theyakkingshow.com, click on the contacts tab where you will find a short application form, and we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.